When you took over, how many locations were you in? Now today, obviously you're in 22. What did that look like?
I love the story because it's focused on growth. From 2000 to 2010, we were basically stuck at 10 million in revenues. And I think it's really because of that accidental culture that we'd allowed to creep into the organization that we couldn't grow, because everything healthy is growing. And I knew we had to grow in order to get our mojo back. And so I set this target. It was very easy to remember. We were doing 10 million in 2010, and I said, we got to get to 15 by 15. We're going to increase this business by 50% in 5 years. And everyone went, you're crazy. We've never done that. How are we going to do that? And we got to 15 million within 2 years. And by 2015, I think we got to 20 million. So we actually doubled it in the 5 years. I only wanted a 50% increase.
Building a legacy starts with the bold decision to take a leap of faith. Behind every empire lies a foundation of grit, willpower, and the courage to take big risks. Welcome to Entrepreneurship Unlocked, where world shakers in the business world gather to share their stories. We're diving deep into the mindset of the modern entrepreneur to show you exactly what it takes to become truly unlocked. Join us in the pursuit of excellence with your host, Seth Rudin. This is Entrepreneurship Unlocked.
Hey, this is Seth Rudin with Entrepreneurship Unlocked. Thanks for another episode. I have the privilege of having Mr. Steve Harmon of the Spartan Logistics and NAI Harmon Group out of Ohio with me. He's an exciting guy. Please introduce yourself, Steve.
Great. Thank you for having me on today, Seth. So I started my life here in Columbus, Ohio, where I still live today, although I also split time in Toledo, Ohio. Our family business I got involved in college and have been excited to grow it probably 25-fold over my career. And it's taught me a lot about business and how it works and people and valuation and service and mission, vision, and values. I am here for the conversation today, and I'm excited to be here.
So glad to have it. We spoke, we met. You have a very interesting background. It's hard not to share that with the entrepreneurs out there looking for their career, whether they're, looking to start a career or in the middle of their career, and also for other fellow business owners. There's lots to learn around valuation and how you put together systems and processes to lead such a big organization. Let's start from the beginning. Can you tell us, from how you went to studying accounting to become a CPA and take us on that journey?
Sure. My dad actually started our current business in 1988. I was still in college. I came home with him and worked that first Thanksgiving and Christmas break while the business was literally brand new, and sort of threw myself into building databases and accounting systems because none of that was in place. So I was really happy that I literally just self-taught myself the skills I needed to figure out how to do that. There was nobody to teach me. So the business only had like 4 employees at the time. So I was able to, at 19 years old, set up systems and processes to be able to run a warehouse. When I went back to school, I found that hands-on knowledge made all my finance and accounting classes much easier. So I eventually decided to get a degree in accounting because I just thought that everything made sense in accounting.
Very good.
When I graduated, I went to work. I stayed in the Washington, D.C. area and went to work for the DEC office of Arthur Andersen, rest in peace, and where I was assigned almost exclusively to work with banks and real estate developers. And I was really a different type of accountant. I really liked leading people, teaching people, engaging clients in problem solving. I really thought the only business in accounting I was cut out for was partner. But I was able to dig in and do the technical work at the staff level and learned a ton because the real estate developer that we were working with at the time went public as a real estate investment trust. So we literally worked every hour of every day trying to get everything ready for them to do all their filings and get everything together for them to do that launch. That taught me the ins and outs of a real estate business, a fully integrated real estate business. So it's a skill. Everything that makes me good at my job today, I learned in my 5 years at Arthur Andersen. But scrolling that forward, I was married about 20 minutes and decided that DC had been an incredible place to be 20-something, but not where my wife and I wanted to be 30-something. And so if we wanted to get married young and have kids young and be able to raise our own kids and live on one income, we needed to leave the DC area. So we moved back to Columbus, Ohio in 1996. I joined the Spartan Logistics family business for the first time as a full-time employee in June of 1996. So 30 years this week. I joined as CFO and I immediately sort of took control of processes and everything that wasn't operations. My dad was great at sales, great at operations. The details in the back office were something he really struggled with. So when we were able to focus on both what our skills we were really good at, we were able to really grow the organization. So in about 5 years, it was about 3 times bigger at the end of 5 years of us working together.
Obviously, Spartan Logistics is very complex. There's lots of moving parts and changing dynamics, state laws, federal laws. That's a lot to manage. I'm sure you put some systems in place. Maybe you could talk about how you manage such a complex business.
I'll tell you, all that is true, but I don't even remember it because that's the really boring part, right? It needed done, and I'm sure I did it because it's been done, and it perpetuates itself at this point. But what I really put in are leadership systems, training systems, safety systems, culture, KPIs, measuring everything, reporting systems to where people knew how they were performing. That is the part I remember doing that is much more interesting and aligns with my desire to have management understand the numbers and the numbers to tell the story of management.
That's fantastic. For context, can you talk about how many locations and what your business is composed of?
Yeah, today we are over $50 million in revenues just inside Spartan Logistics with about 400 employees in 22 locations in 10 states. It's about 4.5 million square feet we operate for roughly 100 large commercial customers.
How many large trucks is that?
So we are heavily focused on warehouse operations. So we spend most of our time and attention worrying about what's going on inside the warehouse. We operate about 50 trucks in support of our customers. So all of those trucks are moving either to or from our warehouse. They're either bringing stuff over from a manufacturing plant to our warehouse, or they're going from our warehouse to my customer's customer.
And their customers are also bringing their own trucks or contracted trucks to them.
Correct.
As well. I'm assuming you selected a software and ERP system to help you manage all this.
It's interesting that I keep looking for a better mousetrap for accounting and ERP, but the reality is at the core, a logistics business is just a service business. And we are still today using QuickBooks because we don't have any complicated accounting processes, systems, or reporting. And it does the job. It's easy to learn, and it's incredibly cost effective. So what sits on top of that is a pretty complex warehouse management system that drives location, direction, put away, storage and retrieval, billing. That's probably the most complicated process we've integrated.
Very good. We could drill down on some of these processes, programs that you came up with. So you talked about leadership, you have logistics, training, safety protocols and stuff. People. This is a people business, services. So, and obviously we're going to talk about the debate about working in the business versus on the business. Can you talk about your people strategy?
So one of the first things when I took over as president in 2010 of Spartan Logistics, one of the first things I realized is that our culture had been poorly communicated to the point where culture was accidental. Every warehouse was kind of doing their own thing. And having an intentional culture was one of the first changes I made. So that's when I put in our core values of service, teamwork, integrity, and respect and service. I said service twice and forgot safety, but okay, you get the point.
I understand.
But the reality is now I had the ability to clearly communicate, not because I said so, but because these are our core values and these are the things that we're going to do that adhere us to those values. When not only leadership puts that on a poster but talks about it repeatedly and routinely, and every time they meet with our team, people really start to get the fact that you're serious about your commitment to these core values. Because what we have seen all too often is that growth breaks an organization that relies on everything going perfectly all the time. We need systems, not heroics, in order to succeed.
And you're using your monitoring, your dashboards. How do you make sure that everything's on track?
Boy, that's a really great point. When I first took over as running as president, I had this idea that as a CFO turned president, I was going to run the business by the numbers. You've heard that expression repeatedly used in business, I'm sure. And it took me about 20 minutes to realize that that was really dumb, that I run a people business and I'm not running a business by the numbers. I'm running a business by the people who will be evaluated and monitored and will know if they're succeeding because of their numbers. But until I have the ear of leaders that are bought into the mission, vision, values of the organization, the numbers are never going to be what they could be. Now that I have that, we are able to track and report a wide variety of numbers. At the operational level, it can be different because of different customer requirements and different products and cycle types at the organization. But the number one thing we track is safety. Collections is a big thing. Cash on hand, we talk about every week. We monitor overtime quite diligently. We look at payroll dollars, which is our biggest expense. So we hyper monitor that. We monitor turnover because turnover is the real measure of how effective leadership is. People don't leave a company for a better job. Usually they leave for a better situation.
I agree. They leave because their manager is not very good. Usually 85%, I think, is the role. When you took over, how many locations were you in? Now today, obviously you're in 22. What did that look like?
I love this growth. I love the story because it's focused on growth. From 2000 to 2010, we were basically stuck at 10 million in revenues. And I think it's really because of that accidental culture that we'd allowed to creep into the organization that we couldn't grow, because everything healthy is growing. And I knew we had to grow in order to get our mojo back. And so I set this target that was very easy to remember. We were doing 10 million in 2010. And I said, we got to get to 15 by 15. We're going to increase this business by 50% in 5 years. And everyone went, you're crazy. We've never done that. How are we going to do that? And we got to 15 million within 2 years. And by 2015, I think we got to 20 million. So we actually doubled it in the 5 years. I only wanted a 50% increase.
How many locations were you in 2010?
2010, we were in probably 8 locations. And today we'd added 3 locations as part of that growth. And today we're in about 22 locations.
I take it now you've replicated. What was the learning process when did you trigger, hey, it's time for a new location, and what systems and how did you manage that?
Boy, the dirty little secret of logistics is that a warehouse operation is only as good as its local manager. I can put in all the processes and systems and structure that I want sitting at corporate headquarters. But this is true from the 1 location operation to the 500 location operations. You are only as good as your local manager. And I'm not sure the customers know it. I think they think they're hiring an organization. But that would be one of my advice for somebody hiring a 3PL is understand who they're going to have running that location. That's going to determine the success or failure of the startup and the ongoing process. So that's what we've learned is start with the leadership first and spend the time it takes to train them in your culture. The idea that they've done this somewhere else before so they can do it here, we're not down for. If they can't do it according to our people and processes and culture, they're not going to be a fit for our organization.
How long does it take for a new warehouse to sort of go from start? It's sort of a startup, right? Even though it's part of an existing business, but how does it go from, it's startup to mature?
We have customers that call us up and say crazy things. Like I get a call on July 1st where the customer says, hey, we finally made a decision on this 6-month bidding process. Now we need you to have this up and running by September 1st. And we're like, all right, we'll do it. It's going to be rocky. You have to accept the consequences of this being a quick startup, but we can get it done. And we're just crazy enough to try. One of the the limiting condition is always internet service, which always seems to take longer than any human being thinks it's reasonable to install internet service in a building. And people we can get, processes we can get, equipment we can get. The other issue is generally like just building acquisition. Like, can we get with the landlord and get a lease done and get everything we need in terms of legal requirements, business licensing. We want to run at full speed towards a wall to deliver for our customers, and dragging large companies and government along with us is usually the biggest challenge. One of the really instrumental things we've done in being ready to start and serve our customers today is we've built an internal Spartan University, where we educate, train rising leaders so that they are ready for promotion within our culture and organization. So we don't have to go out and recruit somebody from the outside to come to work for us. We have somebody that's promotable on board and ready to go.
That's a lot of foresight. When I worked at Dell, the VP of finance used to tell me, management's like a black box. We just promote the type A person who's getting the best results, and we expect them to be a good people manager. But in reality, they may not be a good people manager. They might be a better IC. So the fact that you're teaching and training this ahead of time with the ICs and making an assessment along the way, I'm guessing, that's probably going to have a great impact, I'm guessing, that you're seeing.
And for years, we've made the mistake of promoting the best forklift driver to warehouse manager. What we found over the years is a lot of times the customer service rep is more promotable. We've promoted truck drivers before. Everybody in our organization has stepped up and delivered in terms of leadership. My favorite internal growth story is that one guy who's 43 years old started with our company as a temp at age 18, worked his way through college with our organization. When he graduated college with a degree in marketing, he joined our sales team, and that gentleman, Josh Ledford, is now president of our company.
That's fantastic.
He has 25 years experience with us at 43 years old. So that's pretty good.
That's great knowledge. Way to build a great team. I take it you've spent a lot of time, or your management team spent a lot of times in planes, traveling to the sites and checking in and leading the teams.
One of the coolest things I did was in 2019, I put on what was called the CEO Roadshow. And I went and visited every employee on every shift at every location over a 2-week period. I got in my car and drove 2,500 miles with my daughter and just saw everybody on every shift, had a meal, answered any question anybody had, and played games, had trivia contests, did giveaways. But we wanted to be fully engaged in all of our team and who they are, and just thank them for being part of the Spartan Logistics team. At the end of the day, we all have the same job, and that's satisfy what our customer needs.
That's amazing. It's been a long time you've been running this company. What have been some of your biggest surprises or aha moments that you've had?
Boy, one of the biggest aha moments is some things are just beyond your control. In 2003, we had a major customer that was about 50% of our revenues that whose technology just became obsolete. They made glass screens for analog televisions. So, they literally pulled the plug on all of our contracts and liquidated their inventory and went out of business because they weren't a going concern anymore. And that can happen at any time to any business. Not that they've become obsolete, but that their management changes and wants to do something different, that they sold out to private equity who now has a short-term contract focus and not a long-term what's best for the business focus. That the mergers and acquisitions tend to reshape supply chains. And so we've gained customers and we've lost customers through no fault of our own, but because business circumstances constantly change. In fact, that's the only constant is change.
Absolutely. If you're not changing, you're dying. So
Right.
you gotta keep moving. That's great work. Throughout this process, I'm guessing you learned something about yourself. Anything you wanted to share that you've learned as you've grown these last 30 years?
My emotional maturity, my ability to understand people, to be compassionate to people has increased tremendously. Most of that's maturity, a lot of it's experience, but the what I thought running a business was like and what it actually is completely different. To unpack that a little bit, the stress is real at the leadership level. Like, not that every decision has to be made by you, but at the end of the day, they only come and take my house if it all goes bad, right? And that's not even the biggest fear. The biggest point of stress is how many people are counting on me to succeed. That pressure.
Feeding a lot of people, 400 people.
Yeah, and 400 families, and that pressure to succeed every day is because I can't let people who are counting on me down. Customers, employees, vendors. That is the real stress I feel every day, and what I've learned to manage as I've matured.
It's lonely at the top, that is for sure. Hopefully you have a good network of colleagues that you can cross share and stuff.
I do have several peer groups, great church groups. My wife is instrumental in being a sounding board for me on everything that's a concern. And my dog is unapologetically a great listener. Like, he has never once criticizes, always waits for me to finish. So he's probably the person I talk to most. So
I love it. They don't talk back and they just smile at you.
Still happy to see me every day, no matter how the day went.
Yeah.
And that's my advice to everyone, that if you have teenagers, get a dog so that somebody is happy to see you when you get home.
You have NAI Harmon and you have your Spartan Logistics. Do you want to talk how the synergies between the two?
Yeah, this is really important for us and kind of contrarian to the industry. In the early 90s, given my real estate background, it was pretty clear to me that the logistics world is a cash flow business, but it's not an asset business. You have service contracts and buildings and equipment, but the margins are super small, and you touch a bunch of cash every month, but you don't get to keep much of it. And at the core, it's really hard to build value inside a service company without long-term contracts. So we made the decision in the early 90s to try and acquire as much of the real estate that we operated as we could. So we own most of our own warehouses, we own garages, we own office buildings, we own anything that helps us operate better for the long term. What that's allowed us to do is pay down debt over the last 30 years and build real asset-based wealth through a service company's cash flows. Along the way, we also started our own construction company. That's called Logan Creek Construction, where we build our own warehouses and manage our large-scale improvements. And we also started our own property management leasing company to help us manage this large portfolio of real estate and serve others in our industry.
Makes complete sense. We work with NAI as partners in Washington State, and a great organization. So sounds like rest for the weary on your side with all those different business units.
You don't have to be crazy.
400 person. Now you just added probably another, probably 200 people or something like that.
You don't have to be crazy to try and be the CEO of multiple entrepreneurial businesses, but it does help.
Yeah. So when we first met, we had one of our favorite discussions, valuation, and what is the impact that, owner who works in the business versus who works on the business will have. So let's open this fun debate. I'll let you start.
So I love this conversation because it's one of the truths that has become apparent to me over the years is that the same things that make a business easier to run and profitable are the same things that make it valuable. Stable, repeatable cash flows and processes and people who know them and use them every day. If the business is fully dependent on me showing up every day and driving a truck or driving a forklift, I have done something horribly wrong. So now that I've taken a step back to the CEO level and have high functioning presidents of all of my companies, I can really see that I have created a valuable organization because it is not a cult. A cult is a organization where the leader says, it is all about me and listen to me and only do what I say and don't listen to anybody else. And you have to ask me for permission to do anything different. That is not a business that has value. That is a cult.
I totally agree. If it's a thin organization, you're trying to cut costs and got a great P&L, and I can tell there's a business out there, it's professional services. They have 2 or 3 executive leaders and the rest are, service, consultants, if you will. And they're drawing in a large salary. They think they're worth, a 7, 8x, but the buyers are saying, no, you're not. You got one person in there. And what happens when you take them out? There's other factors too. We haven't even talked about customer concentration, but when you just talk about the effect of that, this one person, when you remove him and the perception they have to the buyer. So in your case, you did yourself a huge favor, right? You have a large organization, multiple layers of strong management with presidents, and now you can work on the business. The market will know this. They'll figure it out.
Yeah. And that is really where I think I have excelled over the years, because I am still like the keeper of large relationships, the steward of the culture, the vision of where we're going and why, the things that we won't do, the important reinforcing phrases that I say all the time, things like, nothing we do is worth getting hurt. That sounds super simple, but it makes our commitment to safety very clear to our team and our customers.
Makes total sense. Let's talk about the future. I mean, you have a lot of moving parts in your logistics business. AI is at the forefront of a lot of conversation. It's not coming, it's here. What's your opinion, and how will you manage your 3 or 4 businesses differently with it?
Seth, AI has transformed the way I work in the last 6 months. I have become a complete prophet of how powerful the tool that AI is going to be for people at every level of every organization. But at the end of the day, AI won't replace good leaders, but leaders using AI will outperform other companies and competitors. That's how AI will cost jobs. You're not going to lose your job to AI. You're going to lose your job to using AI better than you do. And honest to God, now that I've leaned into this vision of teach me everything I can use this for, I have never felt more productive in my entire career. My ability to review, analyze, summarize, report, all the things that cross my desk every day, I'm managing better because of the AI tools. I also find that I'm more creative, that I'm thinking of something, let me have a conversation with Chat or one of the other tools about it, and it provides this feedback loop that gets me thinking in new ways. I did not expect that.
Have you named your AI?
I call her
Charlie, or
I call her Charlotte.
Charlotte.
Charlotte. To me, AI is female. I don't know why, but maybe it's Siri, but no, I'm not talking to you. or the other woman who works for Amazon, who I can't name or she'll answer me. But maybe that's why I perceive my AI tools as female. But um, I think that's really great.
How deep into the business is it? I know it's still early on. Is it into through production, or is it just
No,
at the
no,
administrative side?
like we are still using it for analysis and forecasting and review, but it can still make a huge difference in freight planning, in forecasting, in labor planning, in customer presentations and communication. I'm using it to prepare board presentations, and I'm using it to do team presentations. My son built out a whole pricing model inside chat that he was able to push into the whole team's chats, so that everybody can use the same pricing model essentially and know how to price a potential customer contract. It's we're just scratching the surface. I know it, I feel it.
Mm-hmm. Are you using Coworker or Copilot?
I use Copilot and chat regularly. My whole finance team had become huge fans of Claude. I eventually think we'll settle down into 2 or 3, but they do different things and they do them differently. So for right now, we're just going to toy around with many of them until we sort of build out our own kind of plan for it.
I had the luxury. I was with the Center for Advanced Manufacturing in Puget Sound, and they had Microsoft's Simon Floyd. He's the head of their AI manufacturing mobility. So he presented a new tool, a new version of Copilot, which it selects the tool, right? So even though they're Microsoft or ChatGPT, behind the scenes there could be Claude, it could be Glock or whatever, and Gemini, and you can choose the specific model if you like, or you can say auto, and it'll just go get it from whatever they think is best. They pay that cost for you. There obviously is a subscription model. I'm not an expert on it, but he demonstrated
just heard about that yesterday.
Yeah.
Somebody just brought that up on the golf course yesterday, and I'm like, okay, that would be a better way to do it. So, like I said, one company pitched me a deal that for a single subscription fee, you get access to 5 or 6 of the bots, and I'm like, okay, that sounds better. So I definitely think all this is still evolving, but that's no reason to wait to start using these tools.
Do you have a data scientist on your team?
No, I don't. We are 100% self-taught, self-learning when it comes to this.
There should be somebody on your team. If you asked him, this would be his answer for the future. If you give a generic, large learning model, you're going to get a generic performance back. But if you have a specific expert on your team, which you have experts throughout your organization, they may not call themselves a data scientist, but if they're your process expert and they're the ones helping feeding the model and teaching it, that's your version of a data scientist, right? And they're going to help you get the best results because they know, how to train it. They know the real life scenarios that might show up that obviously, ChatGPT, Claude, whatever, won't know.
I just said on Monday at lunch that I think that's my next hire, is someone in that role.
And when I go look at companies, that's going to be one of my criteria. Mm-hmm. Right? When I'm valuing the company, it'll be part of my process, is understanding what do they have on their staff and how are they approaching AI. You can't do nothing. Doing nothing is not an answer.
No. And it's amazing how fast it's changed. A year ago, everybody on my leadership team would Google a question or a problem, and now it's straight to AI for more analytical responses. I'll tell you, it's changed the way our web traffic comes. We used to get probably 1,000, original hits a month on our website, but now that the AI bots are just kind of going and getting the information somebody's queried, it doesn't show up as a hit on the website. So our website traffic has crashed, and we have been fairly reliant on inbound CRM sort of technology to do a lot of our marketing legwork. So I think they're still getting the information, but I just don't think we have visibility to it now. And That's going to
They call it
necessitate.
answer engine optimization, AEO
Yeah.
and GEO, generative engine optimization. I actually have a really cool podcast with Anita Murthy on it. You can check it out.
Excellent.
I actually think this is one of the most important things, and I'm glad you brought this up, that all business owners have to get on top of is AEO. Like, they need to know how. When I ask clients how they found IBA, the majority now are getting it through AI as well, right? So having multiple ways of getting your name out is really important. Not just having your SEO and all the optimization. The nice thing is your SEO per click charges should drop. And
one would like to think.
And they're going to, it's like transitioning from the phone book to the internet. We're going from the internet to AEO, if you will. It's still the internet a little bit, but it's going to help. You still got to be in SEO, right? And then eventually it'll become AEO or whatever the new name will become. It's always good to ask this question. If you were 30 again, Steve, what advice would you give or would have wanted to have? What would you have done differently, if anything?
My running joke on this answer, I get asked questions like this often, and my running joke is always that 30-year-old me would never believe the life and what future would hold for him. And so I would go back and tell myself something, and that dumb little idiot wouldn't listen for a minute, is one of the things I know about myself. So I jokingly say the only thing I would probably tell myself that I might believe is buy Amazon at the IPO. So that seems like advice I might be able to give myself. But when I get serious about it, the answer is I waited too long to address the elephants in the room. Like it didn't have to be my job to go solve a problem. I should have been out solving problems, seeking problems, finding solutions way earlier than I was. I tended to be pretty mission focused on what was my responsibility. And there were a whole bunch of issues I should have gotten into sooner. And they're all people issues at the end of the day. People I thought were doing a good job for me that were a cancer on the organization. And once they were gone, you could see how bad they were. So that would be what I would go back and tell that idiot. But one of the things I've seen is that the longer my investment time horizon has become, the better my decisions have become. But that's a luxury of success, not what I was grinding out at the time.
Makes sense. Hindsight's 20/20, and it's always good to reflect back. That's how you get better. Just like we like sports and golf, right? Like you look back on your golf game and you look at your number of putts you made and like, whoa, that's over 2. I need to get it down if I want to shoot below 90.
And nobody ever finishes a round of golf thinking they played the perfect round. All they can do, if they post a 68 to their, all they do is go, yeah, but those 2 putts I missed, it should have been a 66. So
I would just stop playing golf if I shot a 66.
Yeah, we're not talking about the type of golf I play either. So, Seth, we didn't get into business valuation much, but I do want to share something that I've met a lot of people on the other side of their exit. And one of the things that I'm seeing is that the happiest people in their exit are the ones who are going to something and not running away from something. So my advice to every business owner is don't forget to have a life outside of your business. Leave some margin for the family, the activities, the friends, the relationships, your church. The only things that matter on the other side of the exit are going to be the things you've ignored for way too long.
That's a wonderful quote and well said.
Thank you.
That should definitely be appreciated. I will take that forward when I meet with my clients, if you don't mind me stealing that.
No, please. I didn't invent it. I've only been taught it myself. So
you're doing a great job. You're going to have a long career whenever you choose to hang it up. Your sons will take over and you'll be having a great family. So it's congratulations on all your success.
Thank you, Seth. I appreciate the conversation today.
Sure. For the audience, thank you for listening, and I hope you follow us and continue to follow us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, and Amazon. Until the next episode, have a great day. Thank you.